What's up, good peoples? Yo, this is DJ DBP, and I got a little treat for you today, uh, this Sunday evening. All right, I'm going to teach you guys the basics of soldering. Actually, I got a little project I need to fix, and I figured I'd bring you along for the ride. So definitely, if you are a DJ or roboticist or hobbyist or whatever you might be, and you need to solder some stuff, some old school, switches and stuff like that. This will definitely get you in the ballpark. So sit back and relax and enjoy the ride. All right, first off, as I get this stuff going here, first of all, let me just kind of introduce the setup I have. I have I believe it's called a Hacko 936 soldering station. So when a soldering station and soldering iron the differences are this. This is the soldering iron. Okay. Now you can buy this from Radio Shack, and the plug actually will just plug into the wall. So instead of having the station, it'll just plug straight into the wall, and you'll have this. And normally it comes with a little stand, where there's the little springy stand dealy, or it's one of those little cheap metal stands that you just stick this in. Okay, but this is actually I have a soldering station, so it has the stand, the soldering iron, and the actual station, which is you can adjust the temperature on it. This one actually goes from, what is that, 200 degrees Fahrenheit to 400 or something. I don't know what the scale is. I know it goes from warm to really, really hot, or from hot to really, really hot. So anyways, you do adjust. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on so it starts warming up. You notice the little red light lets you know that it's on, which is pretty important. You don't want to leave it on. I think this may have an automatic shut off, but anyways, there's various soldering irons and soldering stations you can get that are available on the market through Radio Shack, hobby stores. I mean, you can pick them up a whole lot of places. They have coreless ones. I will stay away from, what is it, Ready Heat or Cold Heat that Radio Shack used to sell. They don't sell it anymore. It's a battery operated portable one. I mean, it does kind of work, but if you're going to be doing some major soldering or something like that, that's not what you want. They also offer some butane powered ones. So basically, they're like a lighter, or one of those candle lighter things that people use in their kitchen. It's like that, but it's a soldering iron. Anyways, so let's just talk about the other things we need. Soldering iron, I already mentioned that. It's heating up right now. Your soldering stand, you have basically you have two parts. You have the stand, and then you have the sponge. The sponge is for cleaning the tip of the soldering iron. Okay. Oops, I got a little water on there. So what you want to do is take some water and soak it into the sponge. You don't have to use a whole lot of water. You just have to get it damp. And the way that's going to work is when you have solder on there, when you're wiping off your solder, basically you start from the inside of the sponge, and then you drag your tip off to the edge. And what that does, see that real nice and clean and sparkly? I can see if this thing autofocuses on it. It may or may not. But anyways, it allows the solder to come off the tip and fall into the basin, and then you empty it out later. Okay. Another thing, what we need is solder. I'm actually going to show you the new one. This is Rosin core solder from Radio Shack. Let's see if it autofocuses. Come on, baby. You can do it. You can do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. I said a hip, hop, hip, the hip into the hip, hip, hop, the don't stop. Man, it's not doing it. I don't know why it's not autofocusing. There we go. Rosin core solder. All right, Radio Shack. I got actually two of these, and they'll last you forever, But anyways, I got it. I keep it with me. And all that means with rosin core is that the flux is actually inside. What solder is lead, or a lead similar to lead product, and if you heat it up, it melts, right? And then once it cools down, it goes back to a solid state, which forms a mechanical bond with wires. So soldering is basically like kind of welding wires together, basically, or joints and stuff like that. But the flux or the rosin is what makes the solder flow smoothly. Otherwise, you get clumps. So I'm going to take some of this, and I'm going to actually put it to the end. See the smoke. You can't. I don't know if it'll autofocus on it or not. But anyways, it's nice and shiny and silvery, and it's nice and smooth because it has rosin core in it. Okay, I'm going to actually, one thing, if you start soldering or whatever, what you want to do is you never want to leave your iron in there on without any solder. So once you get finished doing a joint or something, you put a little solder on the end of your tip, let it melt real good, and then you put it in your hand, your holder, and you turn it off. And then that's the way you kind of preserve your tip. You don't want your tip to overheat and burn up. I believe that's correct. Let me go back over some of this other stuff. All right, so we have that. I gone over that. X-Acto knife. You don't have to have an X-Acto knife. You can have a pair of snips. Or just a regular knife, anything really. I typically use an X-Acto knife because I don't have a pair of wire strippers. Actually, I do, but not a very good pair. And actually, I started using a knife when I first started soldering, so I've just always used one. This is a pair of Alligator Hands. These come in handy when you got two wires and you need to solder them together. This got two little arms. You can bend the arms together and have the wires where they're touching, and it's just like a third hand. If you're going to be doing a lot of soldering, invest in one of these. Okay, you can get them at any hobby store or whatnot. You can order it online. This is a pan vise. This is a small. I think this is the smallest pan vise they make. But basically, you unloosen it, and it allows you to swivel all around, right? And then that's the swivel part, and this is the vise part. So if you have, it's actually set up for PC boards. Do I have a board here? Thought I had a board around here. Here we go. Reach. All right. So here's a little Radio Shack PC board, little project board. So basically the pan vise. Move that out of the way here. So the pan vise. Just pan it whatever way you need it. Lock it down. You can actually loosen this up. Slide the board in the grooves. Bam! What you got now? So now you got a nice little surface that is being held, and you can so the glare. You can reach and put your wires on there and solder nice and neat. So invaluable tool to have, pan vise, right? So we'll move that out of the way. Okay, what else? Something you should always use: safety goggles. I mean, there's plenty of people who have soldered without them, and I've even soldered without them before. But safety, you just can't stress safety. All it takes is one little blob of solder to get in your eye, and you'd wish you'd been using these. So I'm putting them on right now. All right, practice what I preach, baby. Yeah. All right, so all right, let's get started. All right, so here's a little project I'm doing, right? I have this radio, and actually I should do another video on just the modification on the radio. These are Bearcom ICOM radios. They come with a built-in battery pack, custom battery pack proprietary that goes with these sets. But sometimes the mechanical components of these radios can break, and once they break, the battery no longer locks in. Okay, and then those batteries I think are like $53. I mean, this is the older radio now, so they have an updated radio, but they're still probably like $53 to replace the battery. Whereas you can go to your local hobby shop and get you a Sub-C NiCad pack or nickel metal hydride pack for $15. And this has 1500 milliamp hours. I think the stock ones on here, the old ones, I can't remember if they had 700 or something ridiculous for the amount of money I was paying or would pay for it. And this has double, and is much more durable. It's made to be discharged at a high rate. So I mean, this is a little modification that if you're in a situation where you're doing some kind of radio things and you're killing your batteries, from leaving them on the charger with the radio on and crazy stuff like that, this is a great mod. So if you notice, all I did was I put Velcro on this side, Velcro on the battery, bam, bam. Yeah. All right, then you just find a nice little pouch or something to put it in there, and you go from there. So let's get, without further ado, let's make this happen. All right, so let me see, so I'm not obscuring my camera. Okay, so basically all I'm doing is I'm soldering what I call them Tamiya connectors, but they're just generic. I think they are Tamiya connectors. Battery connectors, but these could be any. You could use Dean's plugs, you could use bullet plugs, you could use any plug for this setup, but the batteries come with these. So what you can see here is one of them is already still intact. If I can get a nice, I can still get that autofocus going on, baby, autofocus. Yeah, that didn't work so good. Okay. But yeah, one of them is still soldered on. This one, just through stress, broke. And so what we're going to do is we're going to resolder it. I don't know if you can see it, but there's the old piece. I'm really going to have to get that autofocus fixed. It's trying. I see you, baby. I see you. Come on. Yeah. It's the shiny stuff. But I need to remove the old stuff before I can put the new stuff on there. So basically what we'll do is, matter of fact, I might even use the pan of ice. Normally with the pan of ice, you actually can, you normally bolt it down or have it bolted to a surface. See if you can see this. Turn it like that. All right. Oh. Let's see here. That didn't work. Put that back on. All right. Put that record back on. Yeah, you might hear some old school hip hop references. This is the I am DJ DBP, right? So hey, it's good to go. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove the old stuff off here. A lot of people just shove the soldering iron right on there. Flux is your friend, so put some solder on the tip, get the flux on there. It helps transfer heat better. Then come over here and touch it. Bam, came right off. I just carelessly slack the solder to my thing, but once it cools off, it's just cool metal. Okay, so now we've cleaned off our little connection. I can go back in there and re-smooth the solder out. There's solder already on there, and what that's called when you let me put some back on here. When you pre-solder a joint or something, it's called tinning it, I believe. Tin. Tinning the joint or the whatever. And all what that does is it puts solder there. Solder likes to join the solder. So you tin the joint, you tin the wire, and then you apply heat and heat them both up together, and bam, it joins like that. Okay, so I have the old rip piece. I'm going to cut that old piece off. So I start with a nice fresh end. Okay. If you have wire strippers, that's actually a better. This way right here, what I'm about to do, what happens sometimes if you're not good at it or used to it, is you actually run the X-Acto blade up against the actual wire. And so what you're doing is you're putting a cut in the wire, and then when the wire bends back and forth, eventually it'll break. So this isn't the necessarily the best way to do it, but I've been doing it that way for a long time. So anyways, so what I've done is I've stripped the wire, if you can see it. So I've stripped probably about 3/8 of an inch of wire. Took the sleeve or the plastic cover off of it. Okay, so now I have exposed wire, and so now what I'm going to do is let's see if I can get it so it's just floating in the air, so you guys can see it. All right, it's floating in the air right now. What I'm going to do right now, I've already tinned the connector. Now I'm going to tin the wire. So all I'm going to do is apply solder to the wire. Okay, so first I put some solder on my tip, my soldering iron tip. I come over here, I touch the bottom of the wire, and now I'm going to run a little bit of the solder across the top. Okay. Ooh. Careful not to fry the sleeve. And also, if you were a little careless with the X-Acto blade and cut into the wire a little bit, by tinning the wire, you kind of make it stronger again, because basically you're infusing solder to the wire. Okay, so now I have, yeah. Oh, it's kind of warm too. Ow, it is a little warm. Come on, autofocus. Work with me. Work with me. And you're not working with me. All right, well, you get the picture, right? I tinned the wire. Okay, so the joint is tinned, the wire is tinned. So now all I got to do is put them together and apply some heat. I don't really even have to add any more solder because I have solder already on there. Now what I want to do is I want to try to position this wire so it's going to have the least amount of breaking flex. You know, it's going to be in a position where as people use this thing, it's not going to flex and break like it just did. And if it does flex and break like it just did, you just repeat the process and redo it. So what I'm actually going to lay it to where the wire is going this way, in hopes that helps. So all right, what I'm going to do is I always wipe off my tip before I solder anything. So it's really important about keeping your solder clean. I mean, you can, if you're out in the field, I mean, things happen, you can make it work, but ideally you want a clean solder joint. Okay, so all right, so I'm placing them together. Actually, I just had to switch to my other hand, and now I have some solder already on the tip, and the two things are already tinned. So all I have to do is just touch them together, let the solder melts each other or whatever, let it cool off for a second, and bam, just like that. So now I got a nice little solder joint. It's pretty clean. I mean, it's probably not I can't really tell. It's also good to have very good light when you're doing this. Yeah, get you some good light. I'm going to leave this, I'm going to leave that with that solder that's already on there. All right, let's test and see if our connection works. Here's our battery. Let's actually take this back out. Move the pan of ice. I'm going to stick my battery right back here. This is off. I'm going to plug these back up. Bam! Breaker 19, breaker 19. Mayday, mayday! Okay, so yeah, we got it. Simple as pie. Yep. So I don't know if you were able to see as much detail. Maybe I might take a couple of pictures with with my other camera. There we go. You might be able to see a little more detail on that. But that's the basic concept, like I said. And once you're done, like I said, once you're done, you place some more solder on your tip, put your tip back in your stand, turn off your station or unplug it, whichever one you're using. And that is it. Just be careful, let that cool off, and you're good to go. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention: if you don't have a pan of ice or alligator or any of those things, what you can do is you can take a pair of needle nose or any pair of a small pair of pliers, preferably, right? These happen to be spring loaded, but they don't have to be. Well, they don't have to be spring loaded. But what you can do is you can take that, you can put whatever you got in that, right? I'm holding it right now. And you need a rubber band. Get you a fat rubber band preferably, or multiple small rubber bands. Put it on the back. Booyah! Pope Man's pen advice. So you got that, and then you can, and you can use it to hold your, you can set it in various positions, however, be creative with it. It doesn't really matter, but this is, when you're doing stuff in the field, in your car, or, in a parking lot, or, wherever you need to solder something, and you have the things, this works out great. So remember that. I've done it plenty of times. And that's it. All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on soldering. I will be doing more things. So definitely keep a lookout, and I will post it to you. Subscribe to my channel. This is actually be posted on my Moral Rich Media site. So definitely subscribe to the Moral Rich. I want to have a whole lot of content, from tutorials to indie videos to DJing stuff, whatever. It's all Moral Rich, basically. And also my Ustream channel, DJ DBP. That's where I'll be doing another show. So stay tuned. I got a lot of stuff in store for you guys. All right. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace.